Have you noticed something strange happening to your belly after 60? You may be eating less than you used to. You may be walking every morning. You may even be trying to avoid the foods you think are making you gain weight. And yet your waist still feels bigger. Your stomach feels heavy after meals. And some days it seems like your belly is more swollen at night than it was when you woke up. Here's what most people don't realize. Not every extra inch around your waist is body fat. Sometimes bloating, slow digestion, and irregular bowel movements can make your abdomen look and feel much larger. And there's one simple compound that can help address one of the biggest pieces of this puzzle. It's inexpensive. It's easy to add to your morning routine, and you may only need 1 tablespoon. It's called Psyllium Husk. Now, before you think this is just another fiber supplement, listen carefully. Psyllium doesn't work like a stimulant. It doesn't give you a temporary burst of energy, and it doesn't magically melt belly fat while you sleep. Instead, it does something much more interesting. When psyllium meets water, it expands and forms a soft gel inside your digestive system. That gel can help you feel fuller, support regular bowel movements, and provide soluble fiber that your gut bacteria can use. And those effects can matter a lot when you're trying to manage your waistline after 60. But there's a reason I'm emphasizing 1 tablespoon. Because taking psyllium correctly matters just as much as taking it. And the mistake many people make with this simple powder can leave them feeling more bloated instead of less. So let's look at exactly what happens when you add this compound to your morning routine. Let's start with something surprisingly simple. Psyllium can increase the feeling of fullness. And this may be one of its most useful effects for anyone trying to manage their weight. Think about your typical morning. You eat breakfast. An hour or two later, you're hungry again. You grab a snack. Then lunch comes. And by the afternoon, you've eaten several small things you didn't really plan on eating. The problem isn't always enormous meals. Sometimes it's simply how often you're hungry. Psyllium is a soluble fiber. When it absorbs water, it forms a gel that can slow digestion and increase the volume of what's inside your digestive tract. That can help you feel satisfied for longer. And here's the important distinction. Psyllium isn't burning hundreds of calories for you. It's potentially helping you control one of the things that makes weight management difficult in the first place. Constant hunger. That makes it much more interesting than a typical fat-burning supplement. But feeling fuller is only the first piece of the puzzle, because that same fiber doesn't simply stop working when your stomach empties. It continues traveling through your digestive system, and that's where the next part becomes even more interesting. Your gut contains trillions of microorganisms. And those microorganisms interact with what you eat every single day. One of the things many beneficial gut bacteria can use is fiber. The problem is that modern diets can make it surprisingly easy to consume too little. You can eat plenty of calories and still have a diet that's low in fiber. Toast, refined cereal, white rice, processed snacks, desserts. These foods can fill you up without giving your gut microbes much fermentable fiber. Psyllium changes that. It provides a concentrated source of soluble fiber that can reach the lower digestive tract. And when certain bacteria ferment that fiber, they produce compounds known as short-chain fatty acids. These compounds are involved in communication between your gut and the rest of your body. So think of psyllium less like a fat burner and more like a support system for your digestive environment. But here's what makes this especially relevant if you're over 60. You don't necessarily need to feel something happening inside your gut to know that your digestive system is responding. Sometimes the first sign is much simpler. You start feeling less heavy. You become more regular. And that brings us to the change many people notice most clearly. This is where psyllium has been used for decades. Regularity. Psyllium absorbs water and adds bulk to stool. That can help support more regular bowel movements and improve stool consistency. And if you've ever dealt with constipation, you know how much this can affect your entire day. You wake up feeling full. Your stomach feels tight. You sit down for breakfast but don't really feel hungry. Your clothes feel uncomfortable. And by the evening, your abdomen looks noticeably larger. It's easy to assume you've gained several pounds of fat. But sometimes what you're seeing is a combination of bloating and retained stool, not a sudden increase in body fat. That's why digestive regularity matters. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine a woman in her early 70s. She eats reasonably well. She walks regularly. But she has struggled with irregular bowel movements for years. Her biggest complaint isn't actually her weight. It's the uncomfortable feeling of being full all day. She starts paying more attention to her fiber intake and gradually introduces psyllium with plenty of water. The goal isn't a dramatic overnight transformation. It's simply getting her digestive system into a more consistent rhythm. And for some people, that alone can make the abdomen feel noticeably more comfortable. But now we've reached the part that connects the gut to the original reason you clicked on this video. Your waistline. Because psyllium isn't only about what happens in the bathroom, it can also influence what happens when you eat your next meal. This is where the story gets more interesting. When you eat carbohydrates, your digestive system breaks them down and glucose enters your bloodstream. Your body responds with insulin. That's normal. But the speed at which carbohydrates are digested and absorbed can influence the size of the blood sugar response. Soluble fiber can slow digestion and carbohydrate absorption. And that's one reason higher fiber meals are often associated with better satiety and improved blood sugar management. Now connect those dots. Better fullness can make it easier to eat appropriate portions. Slower digestion can make a meal more satisfying. And a diet with enough fiber can support healthier overall eating patterns. None of that means 1 tablespoon of psyllium will somehow erase years of belly fat. That's not how the human body works. But it does mean that a very simple ingredient can support several of the processes that matter when you're trying to improve your waistline. And here's where many people make the biggest mistake. They hear that psyllium is helpful and assume that taking more must produce better results. But with this particular compound, the way you take it can matter just as much as the amount. And that's why the next part may be the most important part of this entire video. This is the mistake I want you to remember. Never treat psyllium like an ordinary powder. You don't simply swallow it dry. And you don't mix it into a tiny amount of liquid. Psyllium needs water. A practical way to start is with approximately half a tablespoon if your body isn't used to a lot of supplemental fiber. Mix it into a large glass of water. Stir it quickly. And drink it soon after mixing. Why the urgency? Because psyllium begins absorbing water almost immediately. If you leave it sitting in the glass, it becomes thick and gel-like. And if you don't take enough fluid with it, you can end up with uncomfortable bloating or constipation. And in more serious cases, there can be a risk of choking or intestinal blockage. So remember this simple rule. More psyllium is not the goal. Enough water and consistency are the goal. If your body handles the smaller amount comfortably, you can gradually increase toward 1 tablespoon. Don't rush it. Your digestive system may need time to adapt. And if you're taking prescription medications, it's also worth asking your doctor or pharmacist about timing, because fiber can interfere with the absorption of certain medications. That's especially important if you take several medications every morning. Now that you know how to take it safely, there's one question left. When should you actually take your tablespoon? Here's the simple routine. Wake up. Take your psyllium with a large glass of water. Drink it soon after mixing. Then continue with your normal breakfast. You don't need to skip meals. You don't need to eliminate carbohydrates. And you don't need an expensive collection of supplements. Instead, build the rest of your breakfast around foods that support healthy aging. Protein, fruit, vegetables, whole grains, healthy fats. Then throughout the day, keep moving. Walk. Do appropriate strength exercises. Drink enough fluids. And prioritize sleep. Because here's the truth most belly fat videos don't tell you. One ingredient doesn't create the transformation. The routine around it does. Psyllium can simply make that routine easier to maintain. But we're still missing the most important question. If psyllium isn't a magic fat burner, why does it make sense to include it in a belly fat strategy at all? Let's answer that directly. Psyllium isn't a magic fat-burning switch. If someone tells you that 1 tablespoon will melt visceral fat overnight, be skeptical. But psyllium can support several things that matter for weight management. It can increase fullness. It can help support regular bowel movements. It can provide soluble fiber for your gut microbes. And it can slow digestion and carbohydrate absorption. Those effects can make it easier to maintain a healthier diet over time. And there's another important distinction. If your waist looks smaller after improving your fiber intake, some of the early change may come from less bloating and more regular digestion, not instant loss of body fat. That's still a meaningful improvement. Because feeling lighter and more comfortable can make it easier to stay active. And staying active becomes increasingly important as we age. So let's put everything we've learned into one simple morning routine you can actually remember. So let's make this extremely simple. Start with half a tablespoon if you're new to Psyllium. Mix it with plenty of water. Drink it immediately. Give your body several days to adapt. And if everything feels comfortable, gradually work toward 1 tablespoon. Don't chase a bigger dose. Chase consistency. Because your digestive system didn't become less efficient overnight. And your waistline didn't change overnight. You don't need to fix everything tomorrow morning. You just need to give your body one more helpful habit. And then repeat it. Tomorrow. And the next morning. And the next. Because the real goal isn't simply getting a smaller waist. It's feeling better inside your body while you're working toward it. If you're over 60 and you've been fighting a stubborn belly, don't automatically assume your body has simply slowed down. And there's nothing you can do. Pay attention to your digestion. Pay attention to your fiber intake. Pay attention to how often you're hungry. And pay attention to how your body feels after meals. Sometimes the smallest changes reveal the biggest opportunities. And Psyllium is interesting because it doesn't ask you to completely change your life. It's one simple addition. 1 tablespoon. Plenty of water. And consistency. If you're struggling most with belly fat, comment 1. If it's bloating, comment 2. And if it's constipation or irregularity, comment 3. I'd love to know which one is affecting you most. And if you found this video helpful, hit the like button and subscribe for more simple, science-based health strategies for adults over 60. Because the goal isn't simply a smaller number on the scale. It's waking up feeling lighter, moving without that uncomfortable heaviness, feeling confident in your clothes again, and knowing that your body can still respond to the right habits. You're not too old to improve how you feel. Sometimes the first step is much simpler than you think. 1 tablespoon. 1 glass of water. 1 morning at a time.